Okay, our next speaker is Detective Pamela Elliot. She entered law enforcement as a police officer in Gilbert, Arizona, by graduating from the Phoenix Regional Police Academy in 1998. She then moved back home to the great state of Texas and joined the Beaumont Police Department until she moved to Edwards County to become a deputy with the Edwards County Sheriff's Office in 2008. Officer Elliott was first awarded a life-saving award at Beaumont PD due to her actions while saving the life of a man threatening to jump from a bridge into traffic. Sacrificing her own safety, she was able to work her way close to the subject and take him safely into custody. On January 1st, 2013, Pam Elliot took her oath as the Sheriff of Edwards County, Texas, where she served through 2020. She was awarded the Life-Saving Award with Valor a second time for her actions to save a family during the Brown Ranch fires while serving as the Sheriff of Edwards County. She has been a patrol officer, persons crime detective, a member of the emergency response unit, as a hostage negotiator, and a public information officer. And she recently took another oath of office to serve with the San Jacinto County Sheriff's Office as a detective sergeant for Sheriff Greg Capers. She also serves as an officer in the U.S. Army and is currently serving in the esteemed position as Command Safety Officer for the 4th Sustainment Command Expeditionary, where she earned a Bronze Star Medal as the HHC Commander in Afghanistan from 2011 through 2012. She's the proud mother of 3 children and the wife of retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel John W. Elliott. Please help me give a warm CSPOA welcome to Detective Pam Elliot. And I think you got 20 minutes.
Right. Okay.
So go ahead.
Did you turn it? Oh, hey. Hey, so first and foremost, can y'all see me over this? You can't? Because you said you would have me a goddamn stool up here, is what he said. What? All right, I got you. But on that short note, my husband's 6'2", my daughter's 5'8", and you can see it, right? I don't have to admit to nothing. Well, even with photos at this point. All right, so we're walking into a store one day, and it's my husband first, then my daughter, and then me, and we're like, oh, such a happy family, right? Till my daughter opens her mouth, and she said, hey, Mom, do you remember when we were little and that you and Dad would swing me between your arms? I was like, yeah, that was so cute. And she goes, you want to get in the middle now? She really did. So, but I will say this, every single day that I've been at San Jacinto PD, they have some type of short joke. So thank you very much, Sheriff. It's a pleasure working with you. All right, so on a serious note, here we go. I want to try to kind of culminate what everybody's kind of put together. What everybody's kind of said, and keeping the oath, all right? As elected officials, we take an oath to the Constitution. But why do we do that exactly? I haven't heard anyone really explain that yet. Is it just history, just tradition, something that sounds good at a ceremony? Or is it a fact, something very different that is an imperative element to keep our freedoms that we hold dear? It is not, in fact, some way of putting the key element to keep our freedoms we hold dear. It is a way of putting our words in the deepest commitment to something much bigger than who we are, who our forefathers were, and who our children will become. A critical piece of the puzzle to keep a free society free. We, as elected officials, solemnly swear to faithfully execute the duties of our office, that I will, to the best of my abilities, protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of our state. So help us God. One purpose of the oath of office is to remind us we do not swear allegiance to a king, to a governor, an agency, or even the president. The oath is to support and defend the U.S. Constitution and faithfully execute our duties. The reason is simple. Public servants are just that, servants of the people. The framers of the U.S. Constitution included the requirement to take an oath of office in the Constitution itself. Article 6 of the Constitution says, the senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of several state legislators and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support the Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Before there were official oaths, our founding fathers pledged their lives, their liberty, and their sacred honor. Out of that commitment, they built the greatest constitutional republic in human history. Yet today, it seems many in public office have no character. It seems they aren't the servants of the public. Though they can stand there and take an oath, there's no commitment to that oath. Not only are we swearing before God to give our best effort to do a good job in office, but to defend the actual written Constitution of the United States of America and our states against all enemies of the Constitution. In today's politically correct climate and the unprecedented Marxist attacks on our very core values, we as elected sheriffs may be called on to stand fast in the line. As a military officer, mother, wife, and my favorite, I'm a Mimi, an elected sheriff, I've sworn to many oaths. But let me tell you about this oath. I was quite surprised. In 2010, my husband comes up to me and he says, hey, I'm gonna volunteer and go to Afghanistan. I'm like, I get the house to myself, no one to steal the covers. Do I pack for you now, or are we good? So, man, I put another pair of, oh, sorry about that, buddy. Wasn't yours. Call me. I couldn't help myself on that one. So when he told me he was going, I'm like, okay. But to preface that story just a little bit, one of my prouder moments, I was proud to be a mom. All I told my kids when they were able to understand, when they said, Mommy, I was like, I need a DNA test. All right, prove it. So anyway, my husband volunteers. And just about a couple years before that, my son, who was acting up quite a bit, and it was like, well, I can't say that I was going to burn his birth certificate and prove he never existed, but we were close. Because I told him without that, who knew you lived? Prove it. Anyway, he goes to the Army, and I barely commissioned myself, little second lieutenant, swore in my son to the United States Army as an MP, just like his mom. He doesn't look like his mom, looks just like his dad. That's why I want to slap the, at times. Anyway, there's a child abuse thing. So I swore him in, he goes to MP school, and we both, and here's an ironic fact, we both end up at, I go to officer MP school, even though I'd already been an MP for the last 20 years. I had to go back as an officer to learn to be one again. But me and my son are at the same school. He's not allowed to talk to me. I'm an officer now, jeez. No, we really couldn't talk. But, so anyway, that prefaces that story. So when my husband tells me he's volunteering and I'm planning the pajama party later, the day after he leaves, my son's like, well, because he'd already been to Iraq and back. He's like, well, Mom, I just volunteered to go to Afghanistan. I'm going to go with an MP unit. They're out of Denver, Colorado. And I love you. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, I don't blame you. You know, if you put on your dress blues and somebody's wearing a bigger salad bowl than you, so you got to go. Okay. So now I have a 10-year-old and no, wait a minute. That's older than that. She's going to be, so she's 6. And Justin is 16, and he's 15. So one goes to California, and one goes to Beaumont. Just separating them up, trying not to burden one family, right? And it was good until I came home on leave. When I came home on leave, you know, and I don't really know how to describe it to you, but looking at my daughter, and she loved the house she was in, but that was the loneliest soul I've ever seen in a house full of people. And it wasn't bad. So if I cry, it's not my fault. I got to go back. You only get 2 weeks, right? And I converged them there, so I had both my son and my daughter there. We did whatever little trip, and the funnest ever. I got to go. I'm getting ready to get in the car. And my daughter is wailing like beyond belief. But not on me. She's holding her brother. You know, he's 16 now, she's 7, and she's begging him, Justin, I promise I'll be a good girl. Take me home with you, you know? So, directly after that, I hospitalized him because he just had a mental breakdown. And you know what? I was the commander for 254 troops over in Afghanistan. Everybody goes through something. But you know, before when I stood there and I was like, you know what? Soldier up. Suck it up. I sucked it up and I went back because I had an oath. It was tested, but I had an oath. So I thought that was the end of that. Like, God can only test you so much. Oh, but I forgot to tell you. Before that, so my husband volunteers, my son volunteers. Guess what? I was voluntold. The Army gets a pull. I was a pull. So now all 3 of us left. Okay, so we're going to Afghanistan. And I was the deputy provost marshal. Remember, I'm an MP? Well, we land in Afghanistan. And the general says, you and you, come here. And he was the commander, and I'm a second lieutenant. And I'm in a logistics unit, which is hugely, heavily, it's like 10 sheriffs and 1 deputy is about what it equates to, right? And I'm just a little first lieutenant, and everybody's a lieutenant colonel, it seems like. And my husband's in that unit. And he walks over and he goes, you're not the commander, and you are. Give her your shit. It's time to go. What an eye-opening and tremendous experience it was. But it was kind of cool because I got to do all the cool shit. Because the general's my boss, and when you escort him everywhere, because I was his PSD commander, you could see everything. But we were so high up, the chain of command. I mean, if you got a pencil in Afghanistan, we got it for you. But he was so high up that we had over 6,000 troops really assigned to us. And with that 6,000, where my feet were was the command. I'm the commander. I got a general, but I'm the commander. So he falls into my formation, right? I never told him that, though. I mean, I just didn't tell him that. And all these units report to us, but we are the keeper of the mortuary affairs. Every soldier injured, hurt, we get it. And it rolls in on like this big piece of paper, right? And I knew it's what it was, but I never looked at it. You know, that's kind of like, you know, let's try out the casket that you're going to get buried in, right? Do you like how that feels, Pam? Well, no, because I don't want to be in there later. I got stuff to do. So I'll talk to the man. But I'm standing there one day, and I had to talk to that soldier that was standing there. And, you know, I'm standing, and she's, you know, doing whatever, and I just happened to glance down. I glanced down and saw my son's name. IED explosion. Him and 6 other soldiers. He's up at Jalalabad. That's about, I don't know how I'm gonna get up there. And I just remember my heart fell to my knees. I mean, really. And so I had to quickly gather myself. And so I started making phone calls. Hey, you know, trying to track the train because we had soldiers all over, right? I know I got somebody in Jalalabad. Well, they weren't exactly in Jalalabad. They were up doing a MP reconnaissance up near Pakistan when it happened. But anyway, 20 minutes later, I found out he was injured, but he was alive. So my oath was tested quite a bit. And then somebody asked me, well, you know what? How could you send your son to war? And I just looked at him and was like, how could you not send yours? All of our children are valuable. Yeah, I don't want to lose mine. I don't want anybody to lose theirs, but it's like I was wearing Trump's sweatshirt the other day, and the man comes in, he sits down beside me, and he's like, kind of brave for wearing that, aren't you? And I was, no, you're kind of brave for saying something about it. Are you timing me? Really? How am I going to finish in a minute? I got jokes to end this with. I'm just kidding. I did go to line. All right. So what we got? Our country is entering a dangerous time. George Orwell's 1984, it is much easier to understand today than when he wrote it in 1949. Big tech, big government, cancel culture, and 30 years of educational indoctrination into Marxism have the potential to call us as sheriffs to duty, creating a need to not only hold the thin blue line, but to really truly stand for an oath to the Constitution and know what that oath means. To say, you need to say no to unconstitutional politics that edicts the flow from power-hungry politicians. You need to say yes to those actions that will protect and defend the Constitution, even if it costs you your position as sheriff. I hope I culminated as much as I could for y'all today, told a few jokes, and I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. We appreciate you.